conversation with Nomazibulo Tshanga.
Hello. My name is Nomazibulo Tshanga. I am your host for Leaders in Conversation. Welcome to season 3, guys. Thank you. We are in season 3 of the Leaders in Conversation. Who thought when we started this podcast and these conversations that are meaningful to us in our society, whether you are in corporate, whether you are an entrepreneur, but this is a space for you to learn. This is a space for you to gain more insight and knowledge of what is happening around us with regards to leadership. So thank you so much for joining us, but it will not be as meaningful if I don't thank all the listeners of the podcast and all the people that have watched our YouTube channel on Leaders in Conversation. So thank you so much. You've been awesome. I've been hearing very good feedback and reviews, and we've also taken some of the suggestions that you brought on board, and thank you so much for those. We truly appreciate you. Remember, we are interviewing your C-suite leaders, your directors, your head of departments, and all things corporate. This is a seat where we invite all our leaders to have a leadership conversation with us so that we can learn more about how to climb the corporate ladder, how they have done it, what's the career journey looking like for them, and how they can impact this knowledge to young and aspiring and upcoming corporate people or entrepreneurs. So today I have Billy Bokako. He is the head of incubation at SEDA, but we are going to hear all about his journey. We are going to hear all about how he has contributed positively into the society in South Africa when it comes to his leadership, and what are the traits that made him successful in his approaches to leadership. Billy.
Hey, Noma.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start with my water. I've done a lot of talking.
Wouldn't say no to that.
So, Billy.
Yes, ma'am.
I am fortunate to have known you for years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's been a while.
I know, coming from the dusty street of Motherwell.
Yes.
Gqeberha.
Yeah.
Yes, in Port Elizabeth.
Yes.
How was it like growing up in the dusty street of a location, Gqeberha? Just talk us through the intricacies and what your experience was.
So it was actually quite an interesting, upbringing. Those of you who might know the history of Motherwell. Motherwell was, one of those townships that was, primarily, inhabited by young parents. So I grew up amongst a community of, like-minded, almost the same age, and it was a lot of us. And I think that's where this whole leadership thing got instilled. We, from a very young age of about 7 years, we had already arranged ourselves into groups, helping each other with homework, music, those who like to sing, dance, and drama, and all of that. And we didn't really have parents teaching us what to do. It was something that came out of our own passions, and we followed those. And I think, I thank that upbringing. Sometimes we look back and you wish things were a certain way or things were different. But I really am, grateful for that, because it really has instilled the intentionality that I have when I approach, everything I do in life. Yeah.
And you could not have asked for any other better way of being raised, right?
Definitely not.
We can't change our past.
We can never change it, because it also, I believe,
it shapes who you are.
It really does, and it's a great part of, a great and an essential part of who we are.
Yeah. So growing up there, you studied in your primary in Motherwell.
Yes.
So take us through that journey leading to matric.
So I went to, quite a few, schools around Port Elizabeth. And I think during high school, there was, my parents split up. I found myself going to Cape Town, came back, went to study in Utinic. Eventually, I matriculated in 2002 and went to then PE Technicon. It is now Nelson Mandela University, where I pursued studies in industrial engineering.
Why the decision to pursue? I mean, engineering has always been associated with technical and hard. And I'm saying hard and difficult in a sense that you had to have your core maths. And now in our time, they never used to call it core maths. They used to call it higher grade and standard grade. So in order for you to get into industrial engineering, you had to have your higher grade in maths and your physics. Those were kind of difficult subjects. Like how was that? Were there any people or players that were instrumental into your decision?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So when I stayed in Cape Town, I did my grade 8 there. My cousin was one of the first black, female engineers, industrial engineers at that, early in the 90s. And I used to just, every time when she came back from work, I would come, sit next to her and try to find out, what is it that you did at work? I know I had a meeting. What was happening in that meeting? And I realized that, there was this other side to engineering that was not so hardcore and technical. And it spoke to my natural disposition, as Ubili. I'm not really that much hardcore. Really have a soft side to me.
You do, having known you for years, yeah.
So industrial engineering offered me the opportunity to be able to pivot, or the prospect of being able to pivot, even though I worked, in hardcore engineering, wearing safety shoes. You know about this chapter of my life. So, yeah. And eventually I did pivot. So, I think the intentionality behind everything that we do and, really is what has led me to where I'm at this point here.
Did you find it difficult to get through industrial engineering? And what is industrial engineering? How would you define it to a lame person that is currently in grade 10 and would like to look at options in engineering? Yeah.
So industrial engineering is all about, continuous improvement. And it is all about, you study processes in order to continually improve them. And, I feel like it was a blessing that I came across somebody who inspired me to get into this path, because it has spilled over in different aspects of my life. It's not only something that I take, into consideration when I'm at work, but even at home, even with my life, I'm constantly trying to see, what can I do? Yeah, what can I do better? And the nice thing, about industrial engineering also is the fact that you're not confined to one industry.
Oh, lovely, right? Lovely. I hope everyone at home heard that. You're not confined into like a technical field.
Yes, no, you're not confined. You find applicability in hospitals, in banks. We could even have a production, an industrial engineer within this production. Do you understand? So there's a lot of, and also with the, with us embracing technology and all of that, we find also in the IT field, certain architects would have an industrial engineering background. It really
so
is
it's all
diverse.
about systems, processes, continuous improvement, etc.
Etc. Just making everything seamless, because at the end of the day, the businesses, exist because they want to maximize the bottom line. Right, so it is important to understand
cheaper,
the
quicker.
process. Yes.
Quality.
Yeah, highest quality, lower cost, and seamless.
Yes.
You understand? We want to work smarter rather than harder, and that was always the thing we were told back then when I was still in Varsity. So yeah.
How was your journey in Varsity? So I met you in Varsity. We stayed in the same campus together. I know part of your journey, but there could have been things that I was not privy to, because you were on the technical side, I was on the commerce side. So how was growing up, or how was your experience in Varsity?
My life in Varsity was very interesting. So I came from a rather shelled, environment. I was quite shelled, very focused on, certain aspects like religion was a big part of my life at the time. And I remember my mom said to me, you know what, you need to embrace this freedom that you're about to get.
Oh, wow.
You need to step out of yourself. You need to make friends, because the friends that you will make in this particular point in your life are going to be,
Sustain you for longer.
They're going to be the people that will be in your life for the longest time. And I'm worried that you don't seem to be getting that. And that really stuck with me, that when I got to Varsity, the first thing that I wanted to do was to actually get grasp of the studies, because there's a huge difference from Varsity to from high school
to Varsity. Yeah.
And and the second part of my plan was to make friends, and that's when we met, and the rest of our other friends that we still keep contact. And it was a wonderful experience that really brought me out. And because I was relatively very young when I started.
Yeah, you were.
I think I started Varsity when I was 17. And, to try and find people that, could, sort of mentor me, peer mentoring and all of that. And we did that quite well. So also my Varsity life was destroyed, or not even destroyed, was distracted at also still an early age. When I started working, I was 19 years of age. And that sort of meant everything was just moving at a pace, and I needed to embrace that. And I never felt like I was chasing anything, or I was being chased by anything. It sort of just fell into place.
Found you.
Yes, until I decided to quit working, and that's when you called me back and you said, come, I've got a job for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. So with your diverse professional experience spanning industries such as the power cables, the automotive, enterprise development, how have these different sectors influenced your approach to leadership and problem solving within the incubation space? We'll talk about that at length.
Yeah. So as much as I was intentional about my studies in terms of what I wanted to study, I did not really have a plan in terms of what I wanted to do when I, working.
Isn't that difficult? I mean, we all didn't have a plan. We found ourselves in the jobs we found ourselves in.
And we just
wanted to work.
Yeah.
Yes, we had to make it work, yeah.
But I believe that everything that has happened to me happened for a reason. And it has honed who I am today, I'm now working in a space where I'm taking care of about 20 plus sectors, right? So you operate
That's
as
huge.
Yeah, you operate as a generalist, right? You're never going to be a specialist on any and everything, right? But I find that, with all my experience, I am at least able to hold a conversation, be able to guide, and be able to give support, right? By virtue of having gone through all of these sectors that I went through. One thing, though, that has always been in the back of my mind and that has always kept me awake at night is I wanted to be part of entrepreneurship. I wanted to be part of development and understanding, how I get bored easily. So it made sense that I'm in the background. Yes, there are certain interests that one would do as an entrepreneur in the forefront, but I felt it resonated better for me to be in the background and give support because of also the passion for development.
The passion for development.
Yeah.
I love that. So as the head of incubation at SEDA, overseeing a substantial number of incubators across the country, what are the key leadership strategies you employ to ensure effective management and support for these incubators and entrepreneurs, seeing that you've got this love to give back, impact, development?
So incubators, exist solely. I mean, if you look at a child who is, is either born under dire situations and needs further nurturing in order for them to then, be able to breathe on their own. That is essentially
like a premature baby.
Yes. That is essentially what we do with incubation, right? We take, some from ideation, some from very early on, and by the time you want to let them fly on on their own, they need to be strong. So it is very important that we are intentional about who we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right. at the end of the day, everything that I do when I'm sitting in my office for 122 centers, it is not about who is running the center, but how does whatever I do accrue to the man on the ground, which is the entrepreneur. So each and every strategy that is born out of our office, out of our, interventions, is essentially aimed towards, making sure that even when we allow these entrepreneurs to go on their own, they've got better chances
of succeeding.
We are aware of the fact that, it takes 1,000 days, which is about 3 years, for a business to be say we are out of, the danger zone.
Yes.
Yeah, and so each and every intervention that we come up with needs to ensure that,
sustainability.
We are able to sustain these businesses beyond, they can only thrive on their own. Yeah.
So what type of businesses or entrepreneurs do you deal with? What type of sectors do they come from? What type of ideas that they bring to the table? What's the current trend of what's coming up and that you are dealing with?
In my space. So also incubators are mostly sector specific, right? We are having conversations now on more value chain specific.
Lovely.
So instead of saying agriculture, we say a fruit incubator, because then you can scale, you
across
can group,
the value chain.
Yeah, you can group, various entrepreneurs who are doing, certain fruits in order to take advantage of opportunities for supply, right? So, given that context, we work with about 20 plus sectors. Ranging from chemicals to jewelry, mineral beneficiation. So there is a lot of, innovation that comes. But I think the one sector that we have tapped into that is giving me, a lot of excitement at the moment is that of the 4IR. Looking at the 4IR verticals and looking at things like gamification, animation, and also what makes me even more excited is how we've taken that to the townships and the rural areas. So for the past 2 years, our focus has been establishing these centers
in the townships.
In the townships.
Previously disadvantaged individuals.
Yeah, in the townships. Yeah. So you walk into Mabupani to fourth industrial AB4IR they called, and you see people that come from the very same location, understanding animation, coming up with brilliant ideas, virtual reality and all of that. That for me is the future of business, right? We understand that 4IR is here to solve for us to
future
understand
problems.
The future of business. And for me it starts not only with the people that have access. We need to solve the issues of access first of all in order for us to have a vibrant economy that is inclusive and takes into consideration each and every player that is within there. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. So how do entrepreneurs become part of these incubation programs? What's the steps to follow? What can you advise to our entrepreneurs, etc.?
Yeah. So you can go onto our website at SEDA and check which one is closest to you, right? Because as I said, we are all in all 9 provinces, and there's more than one sector in one province. You'll find in the Eastern Cape they've got digital hubs, they've got agriculture, they have got manufacturing even. So it's just a matter of understanding where you are, and then maybe reach out also to your nearest SEDA branch. You can go in there and ask them to hook you up with an incubator, or an incubation program, or an accelerator even that is nearest.
So
to
you've
you.
got different programs that are aimed for different entrepreneurs at different stages of the service or the product.
Yeah.
Right.
There is a study by one professor who is in UNISA that we are busy looking at, that looks at the different stages or the different needs of entrepreneurs at different stages. This is something that we talk about, but to actually read something that has been well researched, will actually enhance our thinking around that. If you look at the different stages of development, even for a child, right, they've got different needs.
Yeah.
Right.
And different children.
And different children, exactly, because not everyone is going to grow up or develop the same. So also our targeted interventions, our support, needs to have that, needs to embed the DNA of what, who they're dealing with. So if you look at all these different stages, and one thing that we've realized that we are losing touch with is those that have now commercialized, that are ready to scale up. And these are the guys that, the incubation value chain or program itself does not really, will not be able to cater for them anymore, because they're
that's
now
been a
big.
challenge for years in South Africa.
Yeah, they're going to be big. But there is post-incubation support that we can give, right? Because these are the guys that are ready to attract big investment also. They can take on big business and so there's a lot of, continuous thinking again, continuous improvement of our, interventions.
Yeah. Have you worked with any entrepreneurs that have scaled up, or do you have any success stories that you come across like every day? Because sometimes I often find that we do all these interventions, all these programs, but they don't have an end goal. So do you have any success stories that you...
I've got one that it really makes me smile, and if you go maybe and check out my pilot seasons on the podcast, I've got them there because they, an epitome of what ESD, real ESD, can achieve.
What is ESD? We need to make sure that our viewers understand these terms.
So it's enterprise
I know it, but I mean, it's
enterprise
important.
supplier development, where we graduate from, enterprise development. We've always talked enterprise development. But how do we then make these enterprises become suppliers?
Supplier development.
Because that's where the real business is. We can develop them till we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But if we don't open up that market access, and those big markets, not just, big markets, that's where ESD comes in. And it's like the NSI of, small business, because it's got all these different players, government and everyone. So the company's name is Watility. I first came across them when I was the head of Climate Innovation Center at the Innovation Hub. And they wanted to develop their prototype.
Wow.
Right? So really early on in their journey. And when I spoke to them again last year, their balance sheet had grown to be able to deploy services of up to R1 billion.
Wow.
And they are in the business of, solving, everybody wants to try and solve, matters relating to load shedding.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to sell a solar panel, wants to come with an inverter, wants to come with this. They are also in that space. But what they are trying to solve over and above that is a matter of access. Because if you look at, all these solutions, you're not going to pay anything less than 100K.
Of course.
To get a good solution.
Of course.
But you can get their products at a subscription. So you pay a little bit every month.
Access.
Over, yes. So solving issues of access, I could not be even more proud listening to their stories, how they, they were able to tap into programs with your multi-choice, your telecom, all these big corporates. And so one of the many examples that, we can give in terms of the interventions that we've been able to, to give over our incubation programs.
Those are really beautiful stories of our entrepreneurs, and it's stories that we would love to hear. And it's people like Billy who sits in these leadership positions that have these seats at the table that ensure that we understand these stories. These entrepreneurs are heard, and these entrepreneurs have a story to tell. And you assisting in terms of guiding, supporting to ensuring that they commercialize, they take these things or these products and services into the market. So we thank you for those opportunities. We are going on an ad break and we'll be back shortly. We are with Billy Bokako. He is the head of incubation at SEDA. So Brunch with Noma 2024 is finally here, and let me tell you why this is the brunch that you have been waiting for. My name is Nomazibulo Tshanga, and I personally invite you to join me at the Brunch with Noma 2024, where we go beyond boundaries. So picture yourself in a room and in a company of the most brilliant minds in South Africa, having robust, meaningful and transformative conversations that will impact your life positively. A gathering of like-minded, prestigious individuals pushing the boundaries of wisdom and innovation. This is indeed where intellect meets inspiration. So behind the scenes, the team worked very hard curating this lineup of industry giants. So we spared no efforts to go an extra mile to bring you voices that are not just hard to get, but extraordinary in their own individual ways. It's the result of the relentless pursuit to assemble a gathering of the best and brightest in the industry. You are not just attending an event. You are stepping into an exclusive, wholesome space that will challenge you to think beyond boundaries. Seize the opportunity to be part of this extraordinary experience. Don't wait until it's too late. Book your tickets now at nomazibulo.com. Beyond Boundaries is not just a theme. It's an invitation to redefine possibilities. You better secure your spot now before tickets vanish. Beyond Boundaries, beyond expectations. Let's make history together. Hello, welcome back to the Leaders in Conversation with your host, Nomazibulo Tshanga. I am not alone, as usual. I am in the leadership seat with Billy Bokako, who is the Head of Incubation at SEDA. We are talking all things enterprise development, all things technology, all things leadership. So Billy, you've mentioned previously that you were a head of the Climate Innovation Center for the Innovation Hub. You were involved in spearheading initiatives in sustainability, actually, and innovation. How do you integrate and foster a culture of innovation and sustainability within the incubation and entrepreneurship sector?
I think we keep on going back to this whole thing of, everything that we go through and everything that we do, which tends to influence, how we do things, right? One thing I learned, having come from a research, background before I joined them, I didn't know much about, the green economy. I wasn't intimately involved with a lot of what was going on in the space until I joined the CIC.
And I want us to, tap into the green economy. Because we've got our listeners here that are interested and wanting to know what is the green economy. Maybe they've heard the term before, but they don't understand in simplest form what is the green economy.
So, green economy is basically a way of doing things. Yes, we call it a sector, but for me it comes more like a philosophy, right? Doing more with less, ensuring sustainability, and this also needs to look into the well-being of, society at large. It needs to sustain resources. So if you look at maybe a practical, example, is ensuring that the 5 rand that I have in the bank, lasts longer. And
for your children, your great-great-children, they may benefit from the fruits of that 5 rand. 5 rand,
And how do I do that? So that's where now the philosophy comes, into place. We talk about zero carbon emissions. All of that, we're trying to save the planet so that, there's continuity of humankind.
ESG.
There's all of these, concepts that we look at, but at the bottom or at the foundation of it all is just to ensure that our species lasts longer, and we've got a longer term on Earth, and we can sustain these things that make us who we are. There's trees, there's, let's work with nature so that nature works with us. So there's a lot of applicability that I've learned from that space that I always try to impart on my current work. And it's all around sustainability, a better way of doing things, a better way of sustaining ourselves, sustaining that which we care for.
And I think this is an example that I can also give when it comes to ESG or sustainability per se, is to say I traveled to Dubai, I think, twice in the past year, and experiencing and going into the Museum of the Future, where they actually sustain prototypes of things that we need to live for our children, so that we can save the climate. So it is very interesting. Some countries are ahead, of course, but I think South Africa is contributing to climate investment as well when it comes to that sustainability.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of awareness that still needs to go out there, because if you ask anyone what they know about the green economy, they'll tell you about renewable energy.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
That's the only thing. And if you're lucky, somebody else will mention purification of water, reuse.
But it doesn't just end there.
It does not end there. It is a very broad, and hence I say, I don't like looking at it as a sector, but more of it as a philosophy, just a way of doing things.
Way of living.
A way of living,
I love that. Could you share some of your key learnings or insights from your experience in sitting in various advisory boards and chairing the board for Amahlati Eco Technology, because I understand that you sit in that board. And it's in the Eastern Cape at Dimbaza, which I feel like, we need to plow back to where we come from, and congratulations on that.
No, thank you. So, for instance, if you go on CIPC and look for board membership, you'll not find my name. I am not that kind of board director. I sit in advisory.
For more from Leaders in Conversation with Nomazibulo Tshanga, you can continue listening to the rest of this episode on your audio streaming service app. Our podcast is available on various audio streaming platforms. Details in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.